Hey folks, this is Xavier with our grid. I thought I would share with you the server that I'm personally using to host our games and how economical it is to get your own rather than renting. So this is a picture of a Dell Precision T1600. This has an Intel Xeon processor. Mine is 3.1 gigahertz, 4 cores. Didn't have a lot of RAM. I've put 32 gigs of RAM in it, and I also put an SSD in it. So I'm just running Windows 7 Professional, which of course allows you to have more than 16 gigs of RAM, not just installed but usable. That's been just fine. If you're going to run Windows 10, there are some other complications with that. You'll have to figure out how to disable, stuff like the auto updating and restarting. That can be quite a nuisance otherwise, and you really don't need the extra overhead of that system if you can avoid it. Now, we are hosting one game right now. It has about 5 players in it. And you can see that the CPU usage and the memory usage is minimal, so it really doesn't take much. We generally host 2 or even 3 different games at a time, like Ark, Interstellar Rift, Empyrean, Conan Exiles, Helion. We'll host a number of games, and I just keep an eye on my resources to determine the total player limit and load and the number of games to host. But we generally tailor it to our community. If our players are interested in playing a certain game, then we begin hosting that one, and if we get a new patch or content, then we'll fire up one of the ones we've played previously. You might ask, okay, well, how do you get a hold of one of these? Well, the good news is that these computers are, here's one on eBay for $95. It's got 8 gigs of RAM in it, and you'll probably need to upgrade the RAM. You may need to buy a SSD to put in. But even then, if you look at this 3.1 gigahertz 4-core, this is pretty much what we have, and $95, and you'll have to put an SSD in it and some RAM, and you're done. That pays for itself probably in 3 months or 4 months if you're going to rent a server from somebody. So I just wanted to say that it really is that simple for you to own your own server. Using a SonicWall TZ series device that has both wireless and cabled network ports on it. This is a very flexible device. I have a separate port that routes directly from my modem through to the outside, so you can call it a DMZ, a demilitarized zone, an area where it's completely divorced from your computer and the rest of your network, so that outside traffic is further isolated from ever seeing your computer, but they can see your server. You can see here I've created rules for Ventrilo, like on TCP 3784, to allow someone to come in and use our Ventrilo server that we host. We have a Steam game. We have a Steam game listen UDP port open. Ark Survival Evolved, you can see there's a couple there, and then we lump those up into our server services, and this would be the active services. So right now we're hosting Helion, Empyrean, Ark, Interstellar Rift. So any of the games that we're not hosting, I can just click on them and use the arrow here to send them back to the available services, and click OK, and those ports are closed. Since we're not actually hosting Ark right now, we just finished the Ragnarok map, I can remove these 2 Ark ports from the firewall and click OK, and it's going to update, and the firewall has just closed those ports for me. So if I decide to host Ark again, I can just go right back in there and add them back into the list of currently open ports, because I've created a custom service or rule for those ports. I highly recommend this type of device. It is a separate hardware device. I'll get a picture of that for you. But it's a separate device, not software. It is a hardware piece of equipment that isolates your computers, your internet modem, and the internet from each other, and only allows the traffic which you've permitted. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's far safer than running any kind of internal software only. I hope that you find this useful. I'd like to see everybody who is interested in hosting a game host their own server. Most of the things you see people complaining about with multiplayer online games now is hackers, just not the type of people you'd like to play whatever game with. You really can solve this by hosting your own server.